Hi, it's Vicky here with another art journal page. This is a project that I did when I was guest designing for Simon Says Stamp about a week ago, so I'm just posting it on my own channel in case you haven't seen it. Today I'm working on my Dilutions art journal and I'm going to apply directly on the pages acrylic paint. The acrylic paint that I'm using is Distress Paint by Tim Holtz and I am applying everything with a baby wipe. I have started with my lighter color, which is Wild Honey, and then I am going on the edges only and applying a little bit of Rusty Hinge. Now I am doing the blending directly on the page with the baby wipe, and just because the baby wipe is a little bit wet, the blending is really smooth. I am going to finish off the background with some vintage photo only at the edges. By the way, I haven't prepared the pages by applying gesso. I am working with my distress paints directly on the page. That's because I am working on my Dilutions art journal and the pages are nice and take medium beautifully. Now, depending on the art journal that you are working on, you might want to use gesso before you apply acrylic paint. To make my background more interesting, I will be using this Impression Obsession stamp, and this is a big stamp and it's called Passport Stamps. I am going to apply some archival ink and stamp directly on the pages. I will not get a perfect impression just because I'm working on a bulky art journal, but just because this is going to be my background, I really don't care if I have a perfect impression. And I am going to continue stamping until I have covered both my pages. Now that I am happy with my background, I am going to create a frame. I always like to have a darker frame around my layout, and to do so today I am using Distress Ink. I am applying Vintage Photo with my blending tool, and I am also going to apply just a little bit of black soot only at the very edge of both the pages, and this is going to make all the edges more defined. And now let's have fun with masking. I am going to create a frame around my layout using this mask, and I am going to apply black soot distress paint with a sponge. And if you do that instead of directly applying it with a dabber, then you have better control of how much paint you apply through the stencil. I am also going to do it directly, as you can see here, but if you go ahead with this technique, you need to make sure that you don't squeeze the bottle at all, otherwise you will get too much paint which will go underneath the stencil and you will not have a good impression. I am going to repeat this technique around the edges, which is going to leave me at the end with a nice frame made out of words. Also, just to remind you that you can find a full list of all the supplies that I'm using today in the description area as well as on the blog. I am using my heat gun just to speed up the drying process, and I am going over my stamping only at the center with my lighter color just to mute it down. Today I have used my Silhouette digital cutter and I have cut out all those little monuments from different places as well as this globe. This globe is actually a Hero Arts digital file, but if you don't have a digital cutter, then you can just print out from the internet a globe and cut it out with your scissors, or if you have, you can use a scrapbooking paper with a globe design. So I'm just cutting out a piece of white cardstock which is going to serve as the background of this globe, so I am going to color everything blue. I am starting with my lighter color, and that's peacock feathers, which is going to make it nice and vibrant, but just because I am going with a vintage look for my page, I am going to darken things up. So this is where I am going to blend two more colors by Distress Paint, so that's Mermaid Lagoon and Salty Ocean. I am blending everything directly on my design by using a baby wipe. I am also going to dab all around the sea just to make it more distressed looking. I'm making sure that everything is nice and dry, and now I am going to add some texture just to make it more imperfect. So I am using one of those stamp textures by Tim Holtz and I'm going to stamp with archival ink. I'm not going for a perfect impression, I just want to add some texture there. Also, just to make it look more distressed and vintage looking, I am going lightly over the whole area with Vintage Photo. So this is now muted down. So you can see how you can start with something bright and colorful and turn it into something vintage looking. So again, I have started out with light green and now I'm making it darker. I started with mauve lawn, darken it up with some forest moss, and now I'm just applying a little bit of vintage photo with my blending tool around the edges, just to make them pop even more. And what is going to make this look even more dimensional is adding a little bit of black soot on the edges. So now my globe looks even more distressed and vintage looking. And again, just like I did with the sea, I am going to add some texture with the same stamp. This time I'm using green archival ink. And I'm just stamping all over to add the texture. To stick the two pieces of my globe together, I am using some gel medium, which I am applying at the back with my brush. My brush is totally dry, so I'm not transferring any water to my pieces. I'm going to stick them down and just put a couple of acrylic blocks there until they are nice and dry. And while the globe is drying, I am going to go ahead and color black all the monuments. Now I could have used my acrylic paints with a brush or a marker like I'm doing now, or you can always cut them out directly of black paper. So I'm just going to cover up the back of the globe with gel medium and I'm staying away from the edges just because I want to tuck behind those monuments. I'm going to place it on one of the pages. Coming off from the sides, I always like to stick my focal points slightly off the side just because I think that it makes the layout more interesting. And now I will go ahead and start sticking each of those famous landscapes around the globe. To stick everything down, I am using again gel medium. I am trying to be very neat with gel medium, staying away from the areas where I have applied distress ink, because gel medium is going to make distress ink to run. I am applying gel medium with a dry brush. I haven't dipped my brush in water or anything, so this is going to make it even easier for me to keep everything nice and neat without having any ink smudging. I am going to stick all those monuments in a row around the globe, and I think that this is such a beautiful scene. It's one of my favorite layouts for sure. And I just had to use the Parthenon since I'm Greek. So once everything is down, I am going to use my scissors and cut out the excess paper, making everything nice and neat. And to keep the continuity of the design, I am going to use my blending tool and apply some black soot around the edges to get rid of that white edge. So now it's time to add my quote. And today I'm using this quote: I am in love with cities I've never been to and people I have never met. So I have print out with my printer some parts of this quote, so I am cutting them out with my scissors now. And I'm going to stick them directly on my page, and there are only two words that I haven't printed out, and those words are cities and people, which I am going to stamp with this font. This is an alphabet stamp by Tim Holtz, and I always like to have some words bigger than others in my quote, just those words that mean the most on this quote. So I am having cities and people bigger now. I am stamping letter by letter just because this is quite bulky and I wouldn't have a good impression otherwise. And just to make it even more vibrant, I am going all over with my black marker. Now I'm using gel medium at the back of those strips and sticking them down. And my quote is nicely placed there. And just to make sure that those paper strips are not going to peel off at some point, I am going over them with some gel medium as well. So now my layout is mainly finished. All that's left to do is to do the finishing touches with my white gel pen. To do so, I am adding a white line only on one side of the monuments. And you can see how this technique really makes them look more three-dimensional and helps them pop more out of the background. I have zoomed in for you so you can see exactly what I am doing. Just a white line only on one side of all the monuments. And I am going to do the exact same technique on the letters, as well as add some white touches on the globe. And that was the art journal for today. I hope you had fun and got inspired. And if you did, don't forget to leave me a comment as well as give me thumbs up on my YouTube channel. Here are some close-up photos of my art journal layout today. And if you need more inspiration, here are 2 more art journal layouts that I did a while back. Thank you all for watching.